Excellent. Well, hello, this is Donna Blevins, and I am a poker mindset coach, and I have been a professional speaker for over 35 years. And one of the ways that I have made a tremendous amount of money in 6 separate businesses, because I launched and had six successful businesses, is to actually do speaking for free. Some people think, well, why do I waste my time? Virtually every time I would speak for free, I would have sales without realizing I was selling, and then I understood and learned how to sell from stage. In the 80s, that was the big time for the no money down craze in real estate. If you by any chance have Googled any of that, it was a huge industry, and I became a speaker in that industry. It was the most difficult place to sell. You had to close 10% of the buying units. Now, this is an instance where it wasn't free speaking, but it was unless you performed, because in that instance, you had to perform. They counted the audience in relationship to buying units. If there were 100 people, they were not 100 buying units. They would decide how many people were partners or married. Let's say they were 20 partners there. So that meant 40 people became 20. So in that relationship, you would actually have 60 buying units. In that instance, we had to sell and close at least 10% of the buying units. That meant we had to sell our courses. We had to produce home study courses, and it was a difficult situation because I competed against 35 other speakers, and I was the only woman to ever succeed in that industry. One of the reasons is that I paid the money to learn. I actually hired a life coach who worked with speakers in order to help me craft my presentation. Although those crafting a presentation wasn't exactly the words they used, but it was a wonderful process because I wanted to learn fast. And what I'm going to do tonight, and it's been, if it's been difficult for me putting things together, it's what do I need to share? So I want to just start out by talking about how successful free speaking has been. Over the years, I spoke in the real estate industry where I would speak for the states. I was a real estate broker, and where the states had a speakers bureau. And you would agree to speak to any other real estate organization for free. They would compensate some for travel. And I thought, well, I'll give that a try. And what happened is, inevitably, without saying, hey, I've got this piece of real estate for sale, what happened is they would come to me and say, hey, do you have anything like this? Or I've got a customer who really wants real estate in your area. It was huge building for the business. Now, 18 months ago, I decided that I would give free speaking another try. It's like I'm launching my 7th business, and I started with Jackie Lappin, who is the founder of SpeakerTunity, and she has what you call a radio media tour. And just after my book was published, I invested in her radio media tour, and it was a surprisingly effective way to build an audience, and it was through podcasts and land radio stations. And she actually sent an email out. It was a pitch letter that she helped me develop to 7,500 vetted recipients of that who were in the spiritual industry. Now, you're going spiritual industry because I'm a poker mindset coach, and with the help of Trish and Nancy and Susan, last fall determined that my new brand would be When Life Deals Crappy Cards, because it has to do with mind shifting. So how did I accomplish that in relationship to being successful? Is that I wanted to test drive my presentation skills. And what I did was had my right hand, Daniel, do an after action review after every time we did a podcast. Most of them were recorded on Zoom, just like we're doing now. And I wanted to get better quicker. And so we would meet and we'd go through the process. And Daniel, can you unmute yourself and say hello and just do a real quick overview of how doing an after action review after you look at it, you have actually seen something recorded or see me in a presentation, how that benefits the presentation?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Dan. I've been working with Donna now for a few years. I was one of the editors on her book. That's how her and I met. She posted a free engagement letter on the internet, and it came into my inbox. We'd never met before then. So it just shows the value of a cold contact too. But what we do, I learned years ago that the person doing the speaking or the person actually doing the presentation is sometimes the worst judge of what worked, what didn't work, what was well received, what wasn't, what was clear, what wasn't. So Donna and I do a debrief, for lack of a better word, after every live presentation. And then, that's where I give her my first impressions. This worked, this could have been done differently, suggestions for next time. And then on top of that, I sometimes go back and review the videos in more detail. And that's when I do what we call nugget mining. Now, nugget mining ideally is looking for the little gold nuggets that are useful. But it also serves to dig up things that weren't working quite as well as we had hoped. And we can find a new way or a different way to present that information. And Donna has found it very helpful, and I'm happy to do it because it lets me read more of her work all the time, which I like. But yeah, that's the post-presentation debrief in a nutshell.
And we call it after action review. Actually, yeah. I used to call it debrief in relationship to working with my poker coaching clients, and and one of them actually worked with the federal government. And they said, "Oh, I don't like debriefing," and I said, "So I created after action review." And in reality, the military has been using that term after action every time. But I wanted to say that because what I want you to know is that having that feedback, and I want you to be open to it and go into any sort of session where you're getting feedback. It's important to get feedback every time. Now, let me tell you, when you have a wonderful session, that's great, but you need to identify really what worked. And the 3 questions that I ask, and I want you to write these down. The 3 questions I ask is, number 1, what did I do correctly? Because regardless of how good or how bad you're feeling about a presentation, you need to start on that positive energy. You had to raise that energy to the positive place. Even if it's wonderful, you still need to do that. What did I do correctly? Now remember, I didn't say right or wrong, because we get judgment out of it. Because that's a critical part of growth, is to take the judgment out of it. The second question is, what might I have done differently? Now, you might have heard Daniel say the word should, and it's taken a while to get that should out of his vocabulary, but I'm still working on that. I said, don't should on us here. Okay, so it's what I might have done differently. And the third question is, what can I do right now, or one thing I can do going forward to be more effective? Rather than doing any wholesale changes, just pick one. And that's really key. That's the 3 questions that I use in every time I compete at the poker tournament. It's the questions that I've taught all of my coaching clients in relationship to mind shifting. People in sales, when you're going into a sales situation, how do you determine if that's a good sales situation? You have to go through an after action review in order to do that. What worked? People start out with what's right, what's wrong, and what can I change? And it's important to change that into an energy field that is more productive. What might I have done correct? What did I do correctly? What might I have done differently? And what can I do going forward to change? And also in relationship to what I'm doing right now is creating a safe space for you that is guilt-free, judgment-free, blame-free, and whine-free. And one of the requirements anytime I go into one-on-one group coaching, any sort of class, is that you have to leave the whining at the door. And that's one of the things that I've done time and time again, and it's extraordinarily healthy. Let me look back at some of the questions. And Carol had said, and I'm looking at, by the way, I've got two screens. I've got a big screen here, so I'm looking up. If I look over to the right, I'm not looking away from you. I've got two screens here in order to serve you the best. Carol asked, I'm always looking for new ways to make use of all my contacts. And this is going to be wonderful because we're going to show you how you can turn free speaking into profitable ventures. Because every time you speak for free, think about it's the way of subliminally self-promotion without yeah, Nancy said, no whining, but what about wine? I've got to say, she said that to me privately, but I've got to laugh at that. Yes, you may have wine. You wanted to do it to everyone? Okay, I knew you did, so I went ahead and shouted it out. But it's really important to do that. Okay, so where do I go from here? Because this is evolving. I was unsure exactly what I was going to share with you because I had so much to share. And let me get back to sharing a screen. And let's go to, here's the title of the class, Speaker Secrets. And one of the reasons why the gearhead comes up there, because everything about speaking has to do with shifting mental gears. Everything to do with it. Because what's happening when you're speaking to a group, you need to connect with that group. Regardless of what you're saying, you need to take a moment and connect with them. It is absolutely critical to do that. Some people get to the point where they have this presentation and they're wonderful, they're fluid, but there just doesn't seem to be that energetic connection, except when Nancy and Trish and Susan get up there. They have that heart-centered connection. And I want you to think about that and emulate that. So what I'm going to do for the next problem. What's that, Gregory?
Supposed to be seeing a screenshot.
It says Speaker Secrets. Do you see that?
Nope.
Who else sees that?
I see it, Regina.
Yeah, Gregory, you don't have your second.
Secondary monitor.
Yeah, turn on your secondary monitor, please. Okay. Well, see there, then that's good because Gregory had actually worked with me in poker coaching when I first started out in 2010 because I didn't know how to do this virtually. I didn't know how to do it by webinars and teleseminars at the time. I didn't know how to do that. And I said, can you please come on and just listen and give me some feedback? And it became very conversational. That's one of the reasons why I wanted Missy to come on, because one of the reasons we're having this is double-fold. I've had a lot of people say, look, I really want to know how to do free speaking, but they say, I don't quite understand what SpeakerTunity Cities is. And there seems to be missing blocks and steps between the process of having some contacts or how do you actually monetize that. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And Missy's going to share with you at the end a really cool bonus that Jackie Lappin, the founder of SpeakerTunity, has put together for Women's Prosperity Network, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of that. And I want to let you know is I have no financial benefit in relationship to this, but I believe this is such a wonderful way for you to build your business fast. It's certainly worth looking into. And by the way, you're going to find out that, and I just have to preface this and then I'm just going to leave that alone, is that to invest in a region costs a whopping, get this, $1.32 a day for a month. And that's it. And you got the whole thing. Anyway, it's just amazing. It is so inexpensive in relationship to what you get, but I'll let her deal with that. Okay. So where we're going to go. Let's look at housekeeping. I want you to move to the present. Turn off your phone unless you're on your phone. Then don't turn that off. If you're on your computer, I'd like for you to close the other browser tabs Because invariably what happens is if you're connected to Facebook, somebody's going to message you and you're going to be distracted to do that. So do yourself a favor and do that. And what I want to do right now is we're going to do a quick 90-second mind shift. So what I'd like for you to do is take a moment, sit up straight, put your feet flat on the floor, and just kind of move your shoulders. The easy peasy 90-second shift. It's going to take 3 breaths. You've done this before, but it's a huge part of bringing you back to present. I want you to close your eyes and go ahead and breathe in deeply and think of all the positive energy that's coming in. Hold it for a moment. And then as you exhale through softly pursed lips like this, drop your shoulders. Because what you're going to find is that every time as we go through the day, our shoulders are going to hitch up and we need to drop them. One more breath in, hold, and I want you to smile. Oh, just sit in that smile for just a moment and love it. And go ahead and exhale. Release any of the residual stress and drop the shoulders. And the last breath right now, before we get into the program, is I want you to know as you breathe in, you're going to completely clear your energy field. There it is, this white light going into your body. Hold it for a moment. And as you exhale, go, ah. By the way, one of the reasons I do this is that it really helps me too. Okay, and here we go. You can go ahead and open your eyes and come back to me. First, I want to say that MindShift On Demand, my baby, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen for just a minute because I want you to see me holding my baby. This is my baby. She was published. My baby's a female. What do you do? She's my baby. She was published 2.5 years ago in 2017. Oh my goodness, 2.5 years ago, 2017. And I am thrilled with it because it went to #1 hot new releases in sports psychology and on Amazon. And this is astonishing. For 3 solid days in new releases in sports psychology without any promotion. She launched herself. And what can you say? That's exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I want to get right into it and let you know that even though we're online, I am 6 feet 5 inches tall. And I want to let you know that the reason I am sharing that with you is I would like for you to venture. What's the first question people ask me when they come up to me? Tell me. Go ahead and type it in there. Oh, somebody says, I know. Come on, type it in there. What do you think the #1 question is? Trish says, basketball. Well, you get it. There you go. Absolutely. Did I play basketball? Yes. How tall are you? But usually they're going to ask, did I play basketball? And I did play basketball, but not any of my own volition. I played basketball in high school during the 5 years I was in high school. Now, the reason I am telling you that is because there are 5 grades in my high school. We didn't have middle school. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The reason I'm telling you that is that I couldn't understand why when I would say my 5 years in high school and people would do this, they'd drop their head and go, oh, so sorry. I thought I was slow. So the 5 years I was in high school, I played basketball. But it wasn't any of my own volition because I had grown 9 inches in 1 year. And by the time I got to high school, my brother was already an athlete. I passed him up in the 9th grade, by the way. And I'm 4 inches taller than him, and he takes that. He's not so happy with that, but that's the way it goes. But what happened was that I was so uncoordinated. I couldn't dribble. I could only stand in a couple of spots, and I had double-handed overhead shot. I would shoot and I would miss, and I would shoot and I would miss, and I would shoot and I would miss, and I'd shoot, and finally I would score. At the end of every basketball game, I would say, why am I such a poor basketball player? Why do I miss so many times? Why do I always screw up? And I ask myself those questions and would say it about basketball. And that's it, the questions. The question that I ask myself, the structure of it anchored my belief that I was a poor basketball player. And let me share with you the reality that I learned 20 years after graduating from high school. It was 1987. I was on a TV show with Gary Collins on Our Magazine. And I was on the show with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And guess what Kareem asked me in the green room before the show? Do you guess it? He asked me the basketball question. First time anyone had ever asked me the basketball question when I was actually proud. And so I told him what I shared with you about what a poor basketball player I was, a hit and miss, and I whined about it, whined. And so he asked me what was my average points for 5 years. And when I told him that, he started laughing. He threw his head back and started laughing, and I just so embarrassed. Kareem is laughing at me. I can remember the feeling that I had when he's laughing. I mean, he's howling. He's 7'2", so I was 6'5", and I was in about 5-inch heels, but I was close to him. But nonetheless, he's howling, and I'm looking up at him, and I feel humiliated. And he asked me if I knew Magic Johnson. I said, of course I know who he is. He's the most valuable player that year in 1987. He said Magic's average score that year was 23 points. And I had a mega mind shift. I said, do you mean that my average of 36 points per game over 5 years meant I was a good basketball player? And Kareem said, no, you were not good. He said, you were a star. And in that moment, I had that mega mind shift. I realized that I had been counting the wrong things. I had been counting the number of times I missed rather than the number of times I scored. How many times do you do that? We focus on that, and it is so self-sabotaging. And my mission throughout my life has been to control my thoughts and emotions rather than allowing them to control me. To control my thoughts and emotions rather than allowing them to control me. However, after years of study, trial and error, success and failure, I want to share with you right now that poker saved my life. Now, I know that you're sitting there going, what? What I learned at the poker table is that the only thing we can control is how we play the cards life deals us. The only thing that exists is the hand that we are in. Rather than struggling for control, it's becoming aware and shifting our mindset. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to flash through those slides, that deck, is I just wanted to show you a short deck that I have used in many different industries, and that's what I want you to craft for yourself. Now, do you always have to have a deck? No, but it's always good to have a deck. If you're on stage, it's wonderful when you have a monitor in front of you that can show you what the next upcoming slide is, because what the decks ended up being for me was like my cue cards. But let me tell you a wonderful thing that happened in April of 2019. No, sorry, it was 2018. I actually spoke at Yankeetown in Florida. That's actually the name of the town. It's about 45 minutes from where I live in Florida on the Gulf Coast. They had a women's retreat. It was a wellness expo for a weekend, and it was going to be a small group, and I was asked if I would come and speak. Now, it was just after the book was published, and I wasn't sure what to do, but I had the core message, because that's the core message, and then I would go into a mind-shifting exercise, and that gives people the idea of a little bit about who I am. It's the story and the core of how I discovered what was most important to me and my mission. But I found out that they did not have any kind of AV. So I thought, well, then I need to have a handout. And what I developed at that time, and let me put up this particular deck, and sorry, just a moment, and let me share another screen. I want to show you this screen one and see if do you see the, before we get started, do you see that handout? Just give me a yes if you see this with my picture on it. Yes, good. Okay. And what I'm going to, by the way, I want to let you know that when I found this, because I wanted to find this particular slides, this particular handout, when I pulled this up, I looked at this picture and I said, what? That's me 2.5 years ago? It looks like an older me. And I am so thrilled that my life has changed and my energy level has changed. And, you know, that's another webinar about that. But I was startled when I saw this, because I don't know about you, but I think I look a whole lot better than that. So there you go. So what I want to tell you is that this is a 4-page handout. The first page is something, first of all, would ask them to take an action. Before we get started, be sure to opt in. You'll also have the opportunity to attend the free online webinar shortly. And once you opt in, please put your smartphone on airplane mode, because we were actually in a live event. And now I ask them to please write down what they would like to accomplish today and to be specific. This is for them to have, not for me. And the bottom part is my information that would give them how to reach me. That's an important part of it. Now, I used to not have the picture, and people go, well, you want to pay the money for a color copy? Yeah, absolutely, because you want to have your picture out there. And I was asked last time this morning whether or not these were generic or they were specific to any industry. And what I found is that every now and then having it specific is okay, but I've made them generic and it works just fine. The next two pages are the core of where I would have gone in relationship to after I shared the slides with you. And it was, well, remember I had said before that I was creating a safe space for you that is guilt-free, blame-free, judgment-free, and whine-free. And I actually have people write that there, because that's an important part of doing a presentation, because you want people to know is that that's who I am and that's what I'm creating. And I had no idea how important that was until people kept saying, oh, I really like the safe space that you create. And the truth about the mind, this is huge, because, and I'm going to put this in the download page, because people have said to me that they wanted to have a copy of this. Don't worry about writing it down or copying it, because I'll put the PDF there. Oh, I get a thank you for that, and that's wonderful. We have a monkey mind that is reactive. Being reactive rather than consciously taking action can sabotage our lives. And our mind is like an iceberg. People see what? They see that conscious mind a little apart above the water. And what really happens is under our belief system. And 2 pages, that page, and then the second page actually is the MindShift exercise. That is my signature MindShift exercise that I most often present. And I'll be doing this on another presentation where I'm talking about the mind shifting. But I just want to show you the structure, because I want you to create the type of handout that's very simple when you speak for free, because you want to give them maybe 4 pages so that the final page, you can have places for them to write things down. And let me back up, because the reason I wanted to do this is their sheet. I wanted them to write down what the situation is they're bringing to mind, because these MindShift exercises are quantitative. And in order to be able to validate that the shifting works, you have to have a baseline. Where are you now in relationship to how you're feeling? And I asked the people to bring up a situation that gives them extreme discomfort. on the pain scale, with 10 being the worst. I say, bring up something that's a 7, an 8, a 9, even a 10. And this is yours to keep. It's not for us. And I want them to write down what that situation is, just to remind them, and then rate how they feel, 0 to 10. Because then they'll have this written down, because it's important that they understand it. And I talk them through it, and then tell them what we're going to do, have them close their eyes, and I actually go through the process. And then at the end, rate where they are now, and then where they started, and what is the difference. Think about the shift. So whatever you're doing, create something that creates some outcome. And whatever your field is, it's good to give people, there's something for goals, and to show them how doing what you share is beneficial. So this is what I had called an evaluation page. And the word evaluation was something that I didn't like. It felt judgmental to me. And, you know, I started out with, what did Donna do correctly? What might Donna have done differently? Which is what I wanted to do. But as I went along, I'd say, other comments? If so, I give Donna permission to add me to her email list. And it didn't quite work. I mean, people were putting stuff in, but they didn't really know where to go from there. It evolved into what I call help Donna be even better. Now, isn't that a better term for this form that I'm going to get back from them rather than evaluation sheet? It's help me be better, because I can be better the more you give me information. And then the what did Donna do correctly? What might Donna have done differently? And then I ask them for the before and after numbers. And do you want to attend free online web class where Donna shares her MindShift exercise in detail? A yes or a no. But I kept getting, I don't know if it was, maybe it's my angel saying that's not quite right. And then I give Donna permission to email me, and then ask for the email and information. And would you like Donna to contact you directly? This question is miswritten. It can be written better, because it requires a yes or no. And I wanted to have something different and better. So this is the third evolution of this. And by the way, in a handout with 4 sheets, the final sheet, that's the one you want back for them, is colored paper. Yellow or green, if possible. Yellow. You always want the colored paper, because then they don't have to look for it. You say, take the yellow sheet or the blue sheet. But you always want to have that last sheet, the colored paper. And sometimes, depending on the group, I will actually, I have people who are willing to hand out pages, and it's a smaller group, under 40, then we can actually hand out the colored paper. Now, I want you to look at this. We've got a date and a where. That meant, where were they when they did that? I'm not asking them what the situation was that they brought up, but first, one of the most important things, and I found out that this is the way to get the qualification, the proof that this is working. So my before and after numbers today, using, isn't that interesting? Here's my before and my after. Now, that's a whole lot easier than say, what were they? Just a statement. Then what did Donna do correctly? What might Donna have done differently? Now here, do you want to attend free online web class where Donna shares her MindShift exercise in detail? That's a yes, no, that's okay. But I give them something that they can circle. If yes, I give Donna permission to add me to her email list. Simpler. And I found that I had to define whether it was a cell phone or a landline, and whether it was okay to text. And you know that cell and text, they would circle the same thing. Now this one is the final question that seems to get the best response. You matter, Donna listens. What would you like Donna to contact you directly about? Check boxes, coaching, speaking, something else. So it was much faster to fill out, and the response was pretty amazing. If I had 50 people, I'd get 45 of these back, and 42 or 43 would be the ones who would say, absolutely, put me on there. So it's a way to actually create and expand your network. Okay, so yes, Simone says she's driving and can't go fill in, and that's just fine, because no one has it right now. And she just heard a wonderful red light nugget, and I love that. And awesome information. So I would like for you to tell me now, what you've heard so far that's resonating with you. What am I doing correctly by sharing this with you? You can type it in or you can speak it out. Most people prefer to do the chat, but why don't you tell me what that might be? And I will, in a few minutes, we're going to go over to talk to Missy. Daniel, I like the colored paper idea. It's such a simple thing. Oh, and I was asked this morning, how did I know how many people, how many handouts to bring? If it's an organization, it's a big organization, I email them the, I email them to give me, I email them the PDF and they print it out, and I ask them to print the last one in colored paper. Giving ideas of how to get them to keep my information and a way to get an opt-in. That's it. It's they get something, I get something, and having your picture on that first page in color is great. What I might put on my website once I get it up, and when I have my consultation call, it may be good for me to have it and fill in. Wonderful. I mean, it's really good to have a handout. I'm going to actually put a handout on my media page for when somebody wants me to speak for free. Rather than say, here are all these attachments, I want to send them to a page on the site where they can download things. Great information. I like the way your questions are framed. Thank you, Marcia. I love your reminder to connect with your audience before you dive into your talk. Oh, man, that is so important. And let me tell you the results of that. Okay, so I went to speak at Yankeetown, Women's Weekend Health Expo. There were only 11 people in my group. It was a 45-minute presentation. That's all I had, 45 minutes, because the other person came on at top of the hour. So I had to be sure it was tight. So I wanted the presentation to be about half an hour. It's one of the reasons why I tidied up the handout. First time I had that particular handout, there were 11 people. One person already had my book who had asked me if I would please come and do that. So in relation to buying units, it takes the buying units down to 10, but there was a mother-daughter there, and the daughter was quite young, so it took it down to 9 buying units. Now I want to tell you, when you're speaking from your heart and you're sharing something that is powerful and that you have committed your life to, 9 buying units, 13 books were sold. Now think about the percentage of close rate. That's huge. How did I do that? Did I sell? I wasn't selling anything. I was sharing. That's how you sell without being salesy. Okay. Love the help. The Donna sheet. Love that. Love the help. Oh, you love the help make Donna better? Great. Appreciate that you will have the handouts available for us to print. Absolutely. I have trouble with the word correctly. Right. Perfectly. Yeah. What have I done correctly? And I like that better than right or wrong. Yes, 9 buying units and 13 books were bought. They weren't sold. They were bought because they're going to have the book signing. And that was the power of speaking for free. I get a right on. Yes, way to go. Thank you. And excellent. Okay, so where are we going from here? Daniel, can you please hop on and remind me of something that I might have forgotten? I'm going to be sharing the Elvis Effect, which is a powerful mind shift exercise before speakers go on stage, and I use it all the time in poker competitions. So,
other than the Elvis Effect, I can't think of anything that you've skipped. It's just been a quick and with the involvement of the attendees, it's just gone by faster this time. That's all.
Isn't that fun?
It is.
Yeah, I love it when it goes fast, but then I go, oh, more time? Okay, Missy, let's do a little conversation about SpeakerTunity, because I love that. I like that we've both met Kareem personally. Oh, I met him in 1990, Simone says. Cool.
Real quick, just speaking for free, I picked up a paid keynote presentation that I was able to do as a speaker, and speaking for free, I was hired to do an 8-hour seminar at a very large hotel in the hotel industry. So speaking for free gets you out there where people know you, like you, trust you, build relationships.
Yeah, and the one great thing about doing the speaking for free for, excuse me, heavily for the past 18 months is it's helped me to recraft my presentation and discover exactly what people needed, because I'm all about growing. And frankly, the only way you can grow is to allow yourself to get in that, is to get out of your comfort zone. That's the only place we grow.
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, Missy, why don't you, I know you have a slide deck. We looked at some slides, and you've put together some about SpeakerTunity Cities, because one of the biggest issues that I have discovered is that it first seems complex and complicated, but it's actually not. One of the things that I really liked about SpeakerTunity Cities is that you receive a PDF and an Excel spreadsheet. I think you have slides just showing those.
Right, we do have those. SpeakerTunity Cities isn't, once you get into it, it's not difficult. It's a great resource. That's what it is, a resource to use to make it easier to get out there and speak. And, you know, we've got a little bit of social proof that it works. Dr. Gary Salyer, he's a psychologist. He spoke to sell his book and to get more speaking opportunities. And he said it was a game changer for him. He could be precise and confident that he was getting to the person he needed to get to in order to get the speaking opportunity. And this one's one of my favorites. I think you told me Norma T. Hollis is part of Women's Prosperity Network, possibly?
I believe so.
Anyway, she said that this was a strong list, and she used to own a speakers bureau. So that gave us the social proof that we know this is a really good list for people to use. What is it? It is a resource that gives you everything. The direct contacts of the people who are making the decision what speakers to bring in to their meetings, their associations, their organizations. And every single one of these has been vetted, that we've got the name, the contact name, phone number, email, website, everything that you need right at your fingertips. And this is all information that's out there. You could go find it, but it takes a lot of time to go out and find it.
Absolutely does. And what you're talking about in the direct contacts, it's the direct contacts in the region that you're selecting. And I think that was one of the things that's really cool.
Correct. In the area that you want to speak in. You mentioned it comes in 2 formats. It comes in a PDF, which is very easy to look at and see what's there. It also comes in an Excel sheet, which is my favorite because I can sort this. I have it sorted by cities right now. Donna and I decided to do a little experiment, and she gave me 3 cities or 3 areas that she wanted to speak in. But when I sorted it and got all of the places that she could speak, it was way too big. There were too many contacts, if you can believe that. So we took it down, made it some smaller areas for.
It was about 800.
Almost 800. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a little much.
Yeah.
So we took it down to a little bit closer to home. I think we went, 50 miles? In a 50-mile circle around your house?
It was 35 miles around my home. I thought, let's really thin it down and see what happens in relationship to that. And
when we were done, which only took us about 20 minutes, when we were done, I think we had about 74 good leads for you. Good leads for you. And then I did the same thing for myself here on the Treasure Coast. I did 3 cities right here, right around my house, and I had 54 within just a couple of minutes to then be able to reach out to. So that's how this resource is set up for people to use. It's focused. We have 3 areas that were categories, if you will: business, consumer, philanthropic, service, advocacy groups, as well as spiritual life and conscious exploration. And inside of that, these are broken down again into even finer details to sort. You mentioned earlier, Donna, about regions. We have regions and bundles. Regions is the areas that you want to speak in. Stay here in Florida. We have Florida broken up into 4 regions. And you can be up in the northern and the panhandle, the West Coast area, Central Florida, and then Southern Florida is how it's broken up. But you can also bundle it. You could actually get 2 regions or 3 regions or even all of Florida bundled together.
So what that means is I want people to know that in bundling, you just decide what region you want, and there's a fee for the region, but then there's a discount when you add other regions to it, which means a bundle.
Right, and you could select one region in Florida and another in California and another in New York. They don't have to be close together because, well, you know, here in Florida we have some people that live part-time up in the New York area, and then in Florida the rest of the year. So that would be good for them.
Yeah, Simone asked, I'd be interested in knowing if your list is categorized. Find women's organization for helping those abused to read.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. We have women's groups specifically, women's business groups, as well as service groups.
So what's your next slide?
The next one is another testimonial from Erin Lamone Jack. With SpeakerTunity Cities, I set up 15 speaking gigs and generated over $50,000 in sales. She lives in Washington. She wanted to take
Washington State.
Washington State. She wanted to take her program to California. She bought a region in California. That's where she reached out to, and that's where she went and did this. And this was within a 2-week period. She booked those 15 speaking gigs.
That's pretty amazing.
So it is pretty amazing. And if you really want to get all around the United States, we even have a directory of TEDx that's available.
Great. Okay, so what's the investment?
The investment is your first region that you choose, $4.79. Just like you said, $1.32 a day is what that comes out to.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
It is. And then to add each additional region is $3.97. But again, bundling it brings prices down even a little bit more. And this is an access for a full year. You can download this as often as you want, and it's updated constantly. You want to say something, Donna?
Yeah, and I had misspoke. I said $1.32, but actually my husband said $4.79. That's just nothing. Divide 365, so it's a buck. $1.32 a day for a year. I mean, what do you spend on Starbucks coffee?
Way more than that, I promise. I do it myself.
Okay.
So access for a full year.
Yeah, go ahead and give the bonus, and then we'll see what people want in relation.
All right. So Jackie has put together to offer for the next 7 days any investment made in SpeakerTunity Cities. She's going to give her Get Booked guide, the speaker one-sheet templates, how to build your template. I think Donna might be able to show us her template later. Strategy sheet to help really narrow down what it is you want to speak on and get laser focused. Email templates, follow-up phone scripts. The tracking Excel sheet I really like. It's a way to who you've spoken to, when, the dates, what you spoke about, and keep track of when you need to speak to them again, because sometimes it doesn't happen on that first phone call. And finally, that ultimate speaker checklist and video training. And that's Jackie Lappin's actual training videos that she sends out. This right here is everything you need, cradle to grave, to get those speaking gigs, to get your business. It's for people to get their mission, their message, their business, their products, whatever it is.
So what is this marketed online? She actually markets this online?
$9.95 is the value, and she's giving it to anyone in WPN investing in their speaking for the next 7 days.
That's wonderful. And one of the most important things is that now is the time when conferences that are scheduled oftentimes are being canceled. And that's a good thing, because when you can do online events like we're doing now, you can say, look, I can handle that wherever you are. And I think that's really important to address, because that gives you some ways to actually get into places that might not be, that might be moving online. So show us quickly how you
contact me.
Yep, contact you. And let's see, I actually have let me show the replay page right quick, and I actually put a button up there where they could
you want me to stop sharing?
Well, actually, I think my screen actually, I think it I think it says, okay, you can stop sharing her. Okay, so hang on just a minute. Okay, so you will have this replay page link, and it'll take till tomorrow before the replays are up. And this is just a excuse me, this is just a video that's holding the spot for the replay from this morning. And there's a button here, how to schedule a call with Missy about SpeakerTunity Cities. You click on that and you can schedule the appointment time with her. So that goes directly to her. And today's replay that we have right here is going to be up. That'll be great. Now, here's one of the ways that you promote yourself without being salesy. I'm giving you an example of the speaker reel and a speaker sheet. So here you go, is my 3-minute speaker reel. So I'm giving you something as an example. And when you watch this, you're going to go, boy, I'd like to know more about Donna. So that's a wonderful thing because it promotes me without promoting me. So you can build a network by doing that. I'm also giving you an example of the copy below a speaker reel. That's the copy below my speaker reel. Gosh, how about that? And when
the speaker reel is video of you speaking free, right? That you were able to get these pieces.
That's exactly right.
Speaker reel.
And it's it. It's from 4 separate presentations, and I actually took the nugget mining in a spreadsheet that Daniel had put together, and the videos, put them on Google Drive, because our virtual office is by way of Google Drive. Daniel lives in Washington State. I live in Florida. So we connect by way of Zoom and by way of the Google Drive. And this is with the spreadsheet that showed the nuggets. Then I've got a video wizard guy that took that and took the videos and selected the ones that went together. And frankly, I want to tell you what, if I get to a place where I feel a little stress, you know what I do? I go watch my speaker reel. Now that's a really wonderful place to be. So, and I want to share with you, I also put, I'll put down the handouts down at the bottom here. And this is my new speaker sheet, because SpeakerTunity Cities and working with Missy and helping to be an advocate for SpeakerTunity, as someone who absolutely dearly loves Jackie Lappin. I don't think I mentioned this here, but I knew Jackie Lappin from poker because her PR company is so strong. She was actually the PR company that launched World Poker Tour in 2002. That's where I met her. And after about 10 years, she actually transitioned over to the spiritual community, heartfelt community. And let me share with you, I said this the other day on a coaching call with Trish. I said, look, all my life, I've smuggled spirituality, and everyone laughed. So I smuggle spirituality. I guess I need to use that as one of my new, yeah. Yeah, she is brilliant. Nancy said Jackie Lappin is brilliant, and she's so grateful because she is how we met. And you love that line, I smuggle spirituality. Because I smuggle spirituality to the poker table. Am I going to tell them that I'm a twice ordained minister and my PhD is in metaphysics? They're going to go, what? So anyway, so here's this. I wanted to show you the sheet, because since this is sent out as a PDF, today we can use the clickable links. Now that's really huge. And the printed one won't have the clickable links, of course, and I won't have it click here. I'll put something else there. But it's cool because I have the clickable link to Facebook and Twitter. And this goes to the 3-minute video up on YouTube. And the Big Roller Poker, I actually send this back to MindShift on demand. And then you want to find what your best, your best testimonials are, and put those. And I have a recognition award from the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. And on the book, I actually put a link. This has a clickable directly to Amazon for 2 of them.
And this you attach to the email that you're sending to where you want to speak, right, Donna?
Well,
you're attaching this?
Theoretically, yes, but what I'm going to do, it's more important, I believe, to put all of these on a single media page where people don't have it attached to their email. Because people won't open attachments anymore. So, and it's because this whole process that I'm going to do that. And I actually have a 9-minute video of the an extended basketball story, and it actually ends up being a book trailer. I thought, how in the world can a book trailer be 9 minutes? I've had more people. I had 4,500 views on Facebook within a couple of days of that video, so it's effective. Anyway, you have a sample of that. And what school did I earn my PhD in metaphysics? In a non-denominational theological seminary. And it's been absolutely wonderful. So what other questions do we have? I saw a raised hand.
There's a question on here about TEDx. Simone, the TEDx it's the entire nation on one directory, and it's 99.
Good, thank you for sharing that. And Sally had said before she had trouble with the word correctly, right, perfectly, etc. And I think for me, it's the words you choose set yourself up for either success or failure. And for me, correctly is a forgiving word. If I said, what did I do right? That brings up judgment. But for me, correctly is a more of a self-forgiving word. That's why I choose that. But find the word for yourself that works. But when you're doing an after-action review, always ask the first question in what really worked, what felt really good, something that you want to focus on that. And we have
if I can quickly jump in there for a second, Donna.
Yes,
I just
absolutely.
want to add something to that thought, because it's taken you years to teach it to me. Donna had mentioned that I sometimes should on myself. The bigger problem is when I use negative contractions. Can't, won't, didn't, doesn't. And this has been a real challenge for me, because I'm a use the right word for the right situation kind of guy, and Donna has been telling me, right. But what I'm telling you is any negative word is not the right word, is not the best word.
It's not the best word.
For the situation, because those words are front loaded with negativity by design. They're designed as negative words. Another way of looking at them is words like can't, won't, don't, doesn't, didn't, and but, and but's the sneaky one, they are all canceling words. For instance, I love my children, but, well, you may as well stop talking right there, because you're about to negate what you just said. And even though your conscious mind may not be picking up on the negativity of these words, your subconscious mind is definitely paying attention. And sometimes it takes a bit of practice to get used to how to reword, what might I have done differently? Sounds a little forced, because it's asking a very tricky question, a question that we usually judge ourselves with when we ask it. So it took a bit of work to craft that question in such a way that it's not judgmental and that it's not negative. And trust me, I'm still a work in progress, but getting rid of these negative words has been wonderful for me. And it's a challenge, believe me, but it's a challenge worth undertaking. So
I want to share. I'm going to be sharing that's beautiful, and I'm going to be sharing the Elvis Effect in just a minute. But I want to also share 2 magical words. When something comes out of your mouth that is condescending, is negative, and you hear it coming out of your mouth and you want to go, I want you, as it comes out, I want you to just enjoy the fact that you're going to be able to cancel that, because what you're going to say at the end of it, the 2 magical words, until recently. And it is wonderful. It takes the load off, because after I had my stroke, Halloween of 2013, which is another story to share with you, and my massive left brain stroke where I was muted, completely muted except for 2 words. I could say Donna and I could say crap. And it was difficult because I would get frustrated, and by the way, I keep this mirror on my desk so that I look at myself periodically and I get a feeling of what what I'm throwing off. It's like, what are your tells? And it has to do with poker tells. It has to do with the information you're giving. And I discovered that, and I said, I want to find a different way. And the until recently was the part that has been life-changing. Trish says she has to run, but she'll watch the replay for the Elvis Effect, and that'll be just after the hour mark. And that is wonderful. Trish, thank you so much for being here. And I want to tell you about, I'll do it really fast because it'll take me 90 seconds, if 90 seconds, to tell you about the Elvis Effect. And this is something that I created because I've never heard of anyone else doing this. It's something I've been doing for a long time. And I would just say, you know, just do the Elvis Effect. And my coaching clients would say, what are you talking about? Okay. Elvis Presley traveled in a bus from one event to the next. And rather than park directly at the back door, he would park at least, if he could, 1,000 yards from that back door. So, so he could gather himself as he walked. And his objective was, every time he took a step, he would envision and see himself getting bigger. He would stand up straighter. By the time he got to the door, regardless of how high the door was, when he walked in, he would duck down as if he had to duck down to get in through the door. One of the reasons I shared this and crafted it like this is I had a poker coaching client who was a tiny woman, really small, well under 5 feet, and she felt like she was being bullied at the poker table. And I said, you need to energize and just use the Elvis Effect. And she said, please explain that. And I'd been doing it for so many years, I hadn't put it into words. So and by the way, in the poker tournaments, I would say what you want to do is get to that poker table at least half an hour before it starts. Get comfortable. It's your table. And when everyone comes, greet them. And as a speaker, what you want to do is attempt to get to that room. If you have the ability, if it's near you, go a month ahead of time, 2 weeks ahead of time. Take a look at the room and see how it feels. Get acquainted with it and really own that room as yours. And then when you get out of your car or get out of the shuttle to get there, every step you take, breathe in, come to that conscious moment and grow. You're going to get bigger. And what's going to happen? You do that going on stage and it will be astonishing. You will feel the best that you have ever felt. And yes, Sally, it does sound a lot like NLP because it has to do with how you vision and how you speak to yourself. So that's Circle of Excellence. I love that. Any other questions? Got any questions? I actually like for you to put in the chat if you will put your takeaways from today, some takeaway so that we can have some feedback. I certainly would appreciate it. What's been, I've had some that have said the handouts were actually great. The debriefing process worked for them. Anything else that you would like to ask? We'll take 5 more minutes before we close. Daniel, I obviously had the wrong time. Is there a replay? Yes, there's going to be a replay for tonight and a replay for this morning. And you will get a link to that page. It's going to be sent out at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, but it's probably going to be a little bit later because this one has to convert. And then I'll upload it to YouTube and put it unlisted and then put it on that page. Anybody else to say? Daniel, anything else? But love the Elvis Effect. Was late so that it was my main takeaway. Glad I caught the tail end. Wonderful, Sally. Thank you. Anything else, Daniel, that you'd like to add?
I'd just like to respond quickly to something Sally has said in the chat. She says, it sounds like NLP, Circle of Excellence. Yes, Sally, there is quite an influence of NLP in Donna's work. But like I said at our first webinar this morning, one of the main differences between Donna's work and just your standard neurolinguistic programming is Donna has perfected her technology in such a way that it's small, bite-sized pieces. I literally changed my entire approach to high-stress situations with just one of the techniques that Donna offers. That only took me 3 minutes to learn. And that's the, isn't that interesting? You can really defang and render not only harmless, but amusing things that are normally stressors for you with just a little bit of practice. And now I can do it without saying anything. If I'm playing a poker tournament, for example, and I suffer a particularly bad beat, I can just look at it. In my mind, I'm going, isn't that unfortunate? Or isn't that interesting? Or isn't that unlikely? And I can see some amusement value to it. And I found that very empowering. So my point is, unlike neurolinguistic programming, which can involve quite a time investment, and trust me, I have books on it behind me on my bookshelf, Donna's technology can be learned in little bite-sized pieces, and any small change we make and apply consistently can have a dramatic impact. So I just wanted to point out that difference.
Thank you so much. And my husband asked me to pick up my Yoda and tell everyone what my favorite Yoda saying is. My mother, Mama Peggy, actually told me there is no try before. I mean, this was in the 50s and 60s before Yoda said there is no try. So I want to let you know that my husband gave me this because I'm not a stuffed animal person, but you know what? I love hugging these because whenever I'm on a presentation like this, I want you to know this hugging that I'm doing right now, I am hugging you. So it says, thank you, Donna. Tiana said, brilliant presentation, that I am in total alignment. Thank you. I love and will give you credit for smuggling spirituality. I love that. Lori says, very grateful to both Donna and Missy for all the valuable information this evening. I need to leave. Excellent. Sally, I see great potential with Donna grounded in standard protocols. Thank you very much. And the fact that I got a recognition award from the Department of Veterans Affairs is significant. So I'm going to set Yoda aside for a minute. And what I want you to do, I want everyone to take your two hands like this, hold them up like this, okay? I want you to take your right hand and put it on your left shoulder, your left hand and put it on your right shoulder. I want you to give yourself a squeeze. That is me hugging you. And I love you. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll send you the replay link probably by the end of tomorrow. Take care. I love being here. Bye-bye.